We lived in Manhattan for a year, and if we had had $60,000, we would have stayed in Manhattan, because we were offered the building where we were, but we didn't have $60,000. So we went on a hunt for a new place. And the priorities were price, possibility of expansion, maybe. We didn't know. Was not really. We didn't know we were going to become a 100-person community. We were an experiment, and people were joining us in many ways. Friends from Spain came, friends of mine, other people, mostly, yeah, people we knew, to in some way participate in this healing process, this self-transformation process. And then, so Staten Island was one of the three options. We found a house for $40,000, and we could have a mortgage, and yeah, we wanted to live simply. And we wanted, most of us, I think, or the people in the core group understood to some extent this coming out of these private spaces of fear, these noises in the mind, to more of a public space, learning to be in transparency, learning to create a space with each other where we knew there was nothing to fear, learning that I can see the worst of you already. Can I tell you, so that you know my connection with you is not because of the self-images you have of how you should be loved or what's the likable thing on you, but it's because I understand the complexity of you, and I'm not going to use your weaknesses against you. And can we come to a place where I can expose all my fears, and the group, the individuals know it, and then we can work with it. And so in this, it affects the structure of the houses, because at first, like, we didn't really have much private space. We shared rooms, whatever, yeah, cost was an issue. So then eventually we came to understand that it was important for each of us to have our room, because there was so much pull towards the public that it was good to have a place to retreat to whenever you wanted, that was respected, yeah? Now once you were in the public space, you were in an open field. If you wanted to retreat, you went to away to private space. And so eventually everybody got one room. And because of scarcity, our public spaces were cramped. They were small, but they were good enough for us. We didn't mind being crowded. And then more people came, and we started buying the next house and the next house, and then we opened up the gardens, and we started husbanding the gardens and transforming them little by little, yeah? Personally, I have a desire for more open spaces. I wished we had bigger houses. I wish we could have bigger community spaces where we are not so cramped. The 48 basement community space responds a little more to this desire for open, yeah? But it's a limitation that we live with. And we have building code that doesn't allow us to build other structures outside in the gardens. You know, it's limited. So we live with that. When I go to other communities that have had more creative design in them, and they are not in New York City, so they have a more open building code, and I see these beautiful spaces that I long for, in a way. You know, I wish we could have them, but so. So I step out of my room in the morning, and I am in the kitchen, and then I live in a house that has other 10 people or 8 people or whatever, and anybody is free to be there, and learning to hear and sense what's happening in that space and joining it. And it can, all sorts of drama can develop there, you know. Everybody's where they are, and Some of us are better at hearing. Some of us come like, depends on the day, and yeah. So we share bathrooms, but we have insisted in having one bathroom per floor. So some bathrooms are shared by 2 people, some bathrooms are shared by 5 people. Doesn't seem to be an issue. We share the kitchens, and we have 2 public kitchens where we have centralized cooking because experience tells us that it's cheaper, it's easier to manage quality, and we have learned a lot about cooking within the context of public health regulations, because we cook for a lot of people, so we really handled all of it as though we were really a restaurant, and we understand using gloves and storing food in a particular way and handling leftovers in a particular way, and it's complicated, but we have learned a lot. We even ran a hotel for a while where we learned a lot about New York State public health issues. So those 2 spaces are managed by the team that has specialized in the food area. And within that, a lot of people are invited to work, to help within existing context. And so we cook every day for 80 people. About 40 or 50 of them sort of wander through the public eating space, the dining room there, and then the rest take their food from the leftover kitchen when they come home after work or stuff like this, yeah? And then for lunch next day and stuff. We had a very clear decision that food should not be an issue. So there's a lot of food, too much for my taste, and all options. We wanted to have all options. You want to be omnivore? Fine. You want to be vegan? Fine. Over time. The idea was that individual choices should not be stymied, or if anybody of their own process wants to move to a vegan or vegetarian state, this is okay, this is good, but nobody is forced, or yeah. And this is very crucial to the GANAS process, freedom of choice. Awareness that there is not just one way. It was wonderful to move out of Manhattan for me, because the intensity of the energy in Manhattan was unbelievable. And I would commute from 1980, June, when we bought this house, until 86. Every day I would commute to the city, and it was this feeling of coming to Staten Island and decompressing. So coming to Staten Island was very relieving. We chose an inner city place out of many reasons. One of them was money. We assumed prices would be lower. But another, my personal agenda, was a long process of declassing myself. I come from a very elitist context. And then this choice, inner city, really rough around here when we started. Drug market over there, a lot of angry black people, some Hispanics, and poor people. So this inner city thing also inspired us to start the businesses the way we did. Because originally, I don't know if it was on tape, I said Katie wanted a bike repair shop. But there are not many bikes in Staten Island. And so, all right, we want to be of service to the community. How can we do this? And this was part of the design. What can we provide that? So we started with a second-hand little market that had everything in it, from household goods to toys to furniture to clothing to. So there's this feeling of we are creating a new place that's focused on contact, on overcoming alienation with ourselves, with each other, and out of this we want to reach out to the community and provide a service that will bring some money, enough to cover our expenses, and to provide a stage where we can learn about cooperation and about overcoming hierarchy. And we all thought of ourselves as managers and workers, and we would very fluidly take the different roles. and owners, whatever that meant, which meant more for us stewards, because there was a very strong sense of there is no ownership really, you know. There is the creation of capital, or the creation of structures or buildings or businesses for the staging of this process, yeah? And business was in that context too. So